Hello, good people of YouTube, Mountbatten here. And today, well, actually, last week, Wargaming broke the game again. Except in this case, I'm willing to bet about 95% of players that experienced this broken mode enjoyed it. We are, of course, talking about Asymmetric Battles. So, Asymmetric Battles came back in this patch as a new temporary game mode for this patch cycle. If you don't know what asymmetric battles are, they're supposed to be battles that one side has a few ships that are of a higher tier, normally at least 2 or 3 tiers above the other side, but the other side with the lower tier ships has numbers on their side. Now, obviously, that can make a pretty interesting battle experience. There's obviously a huge power gap there between the top tier ships and the normal ships. So it can lead to quite some interesting games, and in the previous asymmetric battles, which I think there were 2 before this current iteration, there was some fun to be had, definitely playing, a large number of lower tier ships, and you have to kind of fling yourself at the larger ships in this horde-like mode sometimes. But anyway, this round of asymmetric battles was interesting from the start. So, this round was a few tier 10 to tier 9 ships. I think it was like 6 tier 10 to tier 9 ships against, I believe, 10 tier 8 to tier 7 ships. Now, you might be thinking, hold up a second, that doesn't really sound that imbalanced in terms of tier. And you'd be correct, because it really isn't. Tier 8s see tier 10s all the time. It's the plight of every tier 8 ship in the game. And tier 7 ships see tier 9 ships all the time too. Especially with the changes to the matchmaker over, not exactly sure when it changed, but more than a few. I'd say probably about the middle of 2021. Tier 7 suddenly became the tier that got double up tiered more often to tier 9 games than tier 8 being up tiered to tier 10. Both tiers get up tiered all the time. The only real power gap is between the tier 7 and the tier 10 ships, which tier 7 ships can see tier 10 ships if they div up with a tier 8 buddy, and then they get up tiered to tier 10 as well. So, yeah, it's not that much of an imbalance except for the numbers going to the tier 8 to tier 7 ships. Now, obviously, if you're thinking about it right now, tier 8 to tier 10, there's quite a few good tier 8 ships that can handle themselves in tier 10 games. So why would you want to take a tier 7 ship? So what wound up happening was you would see sides of the lower tiers just completely made up of tier 8 ships. I did in the very few battles I played in asymmetric battles. I didn't really get too many in before the mode got temporarily disabled, and then obviously we had the live stream, so I don't have any footage of that, but you should be watching a pretty interesting GK round right now. I did not see a single tier 7 ship the entire time I played asymmetric battles, which granted was only like 4 games, but still, I thought maybe I'll take Charnhorse or something like that, but then I thought, well, why take Charnhorse when I could take like Massachusetts, which is an excellent tier 8 boat. And then, what you probably noticed too, if you played asymmetric battles, is that most of the tier 10 ships were bots. And y'all know that bots aren't particularly threatening to most experienced players. But you do know what you get when you are in a lower tier ship doing damage to a higher tier ship, right? A huge, huge, huge income boost. If you didn't know, let's say you are in a tier 7 ship, and you shoot at another tier 7 ship. You get just the normal economic income for doing damage to that ship. The game calculates your credit payout at the end of the match, depending upon, of course, your performance in-game. And if you're shooting a ship that's of the same tier as you, there's no modification there. But let's say you're in a tier 7 ship, say the Charnhorse, and you shoot a North Carolina. You get a bit of a boost because that ship is a tier higher than you. I think it goes up by like 0.15 right there. And then if you shoot a ship that's 2 tiers higher than you, so let's say you're in a Charnhorse again, and you shoot a tier 9 ship like an Iowa or Georgia or an FDG, something like that, you get, I believe, a 0.5 times boost to your economic income. The same applies to, every ship in the game, be it a tier 5 shooting a tier 7 or a tier 8 shooting a tier 10. You get that economic boost. And since bots are very, 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 they're a lot better than it used to be. They are a lot better than they used to be, but they're far from super threatening to experienced players. I'm not talking about like super Unicum players, I'm just saying someone who's been playing this game probably for more than 2 months. You can easily farm these guys now in this asymmetric game mode. So you have bots in, of course, Yamatos, GKs, Ohios, Montanas, tier 10 ships that have lots of health that tier 8 ships piloted by players have no problem farming. So now players have a place to go grind their tier 8 ships, or heck, even their tier 7 ships. If you're in a decent tier 7 boat, like, I would have been perfectly fine going into this asymmetric battle with, like, Duke of York or King George V or whatever good tier 7 ship that I have. You could farm away in tier 10, which is a massive income grind, especially when you're doing damage to a ship that's 3 tiers higher up than you. You're going to get a nice boost there to your economic income. So players quickly discovered this, and shoot, if you went in asymmetric battles in a tier 10 ship, I don't think the queue timer even came up for you. It was just instant match, instant match, instant match, instant match. Now, you had to play, of course, in a lower tier to get enough, what they call asymmetric tokens or whatever, to go into battle in a tier 10 ship. So that's how they were supposed to kind of handle the traffic, but it turns out no one wants to play a tier 10 ship when you're just getting farmed all game. And since players were having an enjoyable mid-tier grind and getting through their tier 7 and tier 8 ships, which are absolutely some of the most painful grinds in the game, the power gap from tier 7 to tier 9 is insane. And playing a tier 7 boat, except for maybe a select few in tier 9 games, is not a fun time. Like, the only one I would be like okay with playing in a tier 9 game would be something like a Scharnhorst, which you can play essentially just like a super cruiser with very poor accuracy. You just, load HE into the Scharnhorst's guns and run around like in a gear or something like that, or like a Golden Lion at tier 7. But yeah, there's not many tier 7 ships that have an enjoyable time in tier 9. But now that you can go grind in this asymmetric battle mode where you can get this huge economic boost to your ship, heck yeah, especially, again, going against bots. So Wargaming couldn't have that. So this is the release that they put out, the announcement they released about the asymmetric battle game mode. So asymmetric battles are disabled. Captains, one of the most important goals for us as a team is creating new gaming experiences for our players. To this end, we are constantly working on creating and improving new battles, types, and mechanics. Asymmetric battles return to our servers in update 11.0. You can now fight in teams with uneven players and different tiers. Due to this battle type's original settings, there were too many bots in tier 9 to 10 teams. And because of this, the battle type does not provide an interesting enough gaming experience for both sides. Unfortunately, we were unable to fix the problem with quick solutions before the weekend, so in order not to leave an impression that asymmetric battles is a battle type where the norm is to fight against bots, we decided to disable it for the weekend and look for possible solutions at the beginning of next week. We will bring back this interesting and challenging battle type as soon as we are sufficiently confident that its return will provide a fun and interesting gaming experience for both teams. If there is no good solution, then we will leave it disabled and further revise it so that it can possibly return in future updates. Thank you for participating in the battles and for your feedback, captains. I don't think anyone was complaining that this was an uninteresting game type, or if there was, it was very few players. Maybe the few players that want to play higher tier ships against tier 8s, but even in like a premium tier 8 ship, the amount of credits you can farm in this game mode, I'm saying, like someone who's focused on credit farming, not farming XP, is of course astronomical. Because that XP boost is really, 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 really beneficial when you're up tiered. That's why tier 8 and tier 9 premiums are much better than tier 10 premiums, because they can get up tiered. Now you have a premium ship with a premium economy on top of that up tiered boost to your economic income. So yeah, we cannot have a game mode where players can have an enjoyable mid-tier grind, well, mid-upper tier grind, it seems. And they really should have seen this coming. I mean, tier 8s, again, regularly see tier 10s. So having more tier 8s than tier 10s in a game mode, it's not going to be this, hard-fought battle for the tier 8s and this, kind of horde defense mode game for the tier 10s. So they should have seen this coming. And again, I believe I said something along those lines back when they first announced this game mode in the dev blog or in the patch notes. A much more interesting fight would be straight up tier 10s against tier 7s. That's a 3-tier difference. And yeah, then 6 tier 10s against 10 tier 7s. That would have been an interesting fight, because there's a significant power gap there, and there's also a significant numerical gap between the under-tier team and the upper-tier team. I don't know why they just said, let's just add tier 7s into the normal tier 8 game mode and call it Asymmetric Battles. But if you're listening to Wargaming, that would have been that would be the better thing to do, just tier 10 versus tier 7s. That would be very interesting. But I don't know what they were thinking. And could have just left it open. It's not like this is like an MMORPG where the economy is player driven. Like there's not like a stock exchange and a grand exchange or anything. Like it's just people farming. But again, people farming, getting an easy farm isn't getting the company any money. So there's that. And that's probably why they disabled. No, that is why they disabled it. Absolutely, for sure. But yeah, hopefully they'll come back and hopefully they'll retool it to where it's in... I mean, of course, I would like an interesting game mode, but I mean, just let the people farm. But it's not going to hurt anything except for the profit margins, which is probably why it won't come back until they can do that. I bet you the next time we see it, they'll nerf the economy or something down to like co-op levels and not PvP levels. I bet you that's what they'll probably do instead of trying to retool it. But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday. Enjoy the video. Make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 35,000 subs, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're all having a wonderful Monday again. Have a wonderful week. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.